Good evening, everyone. It's Liam Neild here with the MU review, and I'm sorry it's coming a day late, but under certain circumstances, I decided to postpone it this week because pigs are flying, Busted are going on tour again after 10 years of being broken up, and Leicester fucking City, are the champions of England. Now, I know that this is the MU review, and it just so happens that this is still somewhat relevant because we played Leicester City yesterday to a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. Not a good result, not a bad result, a 1-1 draw. That really is all it is for us. But ultimately, at the end of such a crazy mental season, it's two draws, a 1-1 draw yesterday and a 2-2 draw today for Spurs at Stamford Bridge that have decided the Premier League title, and bugger my giddy aunt, Leicester City are Premier League champions. I still can't believe it. I mean, we've seen it coming for this whole season, let's be honest. Well, not for the whole season, I get it. Since about Christmas is when people really started looking and thinking maybe they're going to hang on. But everyone just thought they're going to stop. Yeah, their momentum's going to halt here, it's going to halt there, it's going to halt there. When they lost to Arsenal, people were thinking, oh, well, that's them, they lost home and away to Arsenal, and you're thinking, oh, well, that's them, they're going to start sliding now, but they never stop believing, and full credit to them. I love the irony of Claudio Ranieri getting a guard of honour at Stamford Bridge on the final day of the season after leading Leicester to the title, when he was sacked by Roman Abramovich over a decade ago, specifically because he didn't think he could lead a team to a title. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's just good that all of the jokes of the season aren't entirely played on Manchester United. There's been plenty of other jokes of a team this season. Arsenal have bottled it again. Man City have underperformed incredibly, to be fair, and teams like Liverpool are still in the top four. So I can still maintain, a reasonable amount of pride in the sense that yes, we were terrible this season, but at least other teams didn't make us look that terrible, if that makes sense. The only teams that made us look bad were Leicester and Spurs, let's be honest. But anyway, I'm getting off the point here. This is the MU review, and I will review the game that took place yesterday. We went into the game with a couple of missions, really. Obviously, we needed to win the game for our own hopes of top four. We're in a situation now, it's a very, very long shot to get top four. It's still on, even after this 1-1 draw, thanks to Southampton doing us a huge favour and beating the shit out of City a couple hours after we were done drawing with Leicester. But ultimately, it is a bit of a blow to draw this game, especially considering how well we started. And we started brilliantly, and honestly, we could have been 2 or 3-0 up before Leicester got their equaliser. And it is a bit disappointing in that sense, because you saw there was times there where I was thinking, what's the fuss about this Leicester City team? We're stomping them right now. But obviously they grew into the game, and then they did look a threat, and to be fair, they probably could. A draw was a fair result, and they definitely could have won it. But, given the way we started, great goal, really good goal, well taken by Martial. He's 15th in all competition this season, and I doubt anybody is going to have the inclination to do this, considering I'm not even going to do this. But I remember, back at the beginning of the season, when I was doing my reviews with my brother on Skype, we posted a review where we were talking right after the end of the transfer window about Anthony Martial. I believe we were talking at the Liverpool game when he made his debut famously and scored that brilliant goal. And we said if we can get 10 to 15 goals this season as Rooney's back up, or not even 10 to 15. If he can get 10 goals this season, that'll be a good first season for the lad, and he's been absolutely immense. Not only has he been playing on the left-hand side, not even been playing in his natural position, and he's been bumped around because of the emergence of players like Rashford and injuries to all these other players. He's been a constant this season. I don't even think he's been injured for more than a few days, and he has been our top goal scorer this year. The fact that our top goal scorer has 15 goals in all competitions is the real problem. It's not him. We need to sort that out in the summer, but that's a different topic for a different video. Leicester did grow into the game, and we kind of lost all our momentum in the second half. The wind just went out of our sails, and we regressed back to doing the same thing we've been doing all season when we were stuck in a stalemate at home. The games where we have played well, the Stoke game at home, the Everton game away, the characteristics of those games are that we take an early lead and then we don't stop. But when we take a lead and then get pegged back to 1-1 and we're in a game where we're either losing or we're drawing at 45 minutes, you might as well just turn it off then, because the game's going to finish that way. And you can talk about the penalty or the lack thereof all day. I mean, there was all sorts of... The decisions like this, they even themselves out over the course of 90 minutes and over the course of a season. So I'm not going to sit here and stand on my soapbox saying we should have had a penalty and all that. It was a difficult decision. I do think it was a foul. I heard some people... some pundits saying that Memphis Depay dived and went down easily. I think that's I think that's harsh on Memphis. I don't think that Depay embezzled it. I don't think he went down clutching his face or anything. He got pulled back by Danny Drinkwater after he skinned him on the left-hand side, and Drinkwater pulled him down. That is a fact. It was a foul. The dispute is, should it have been a penalty or not? Obviously, it was a yellow card offence. He'd already been booked. See you later, son. I love, the comment, does he know how to find his way off the Old Trafford pitch? Because I'm not sure if he's ever set foot on it before. Certainly not as a Man United player, but he's just gone and won the Premier League, so who am I to talk? Danny Drinkwater. And I personally, and it was difficult because Memphis was in the box, but he was doing that thing he does where he weaves in and out a bit, and he'd gotten by Drinkwater and he'd weaved a bit, and he puts his, I want to say it was his left foot is in the box. But then when Drinkwater actually, because the rule, my understanding of the rule is that it comes from when the contact is initiated, the foul, it begins. So, for example, if you're pulling someone's shirt and then they run into the box and fall over, it's still a free kick because you started pulling their shirt outside the box. And that's kind of what I thought this was. On first viewing, I thought it was a penalty. So when the referee blew his whistle and didn't point to the spot, I thought he'd given a dive. When I found out it was a free kick and then saw all the protests, I thought, hang on a minute, we might have been denied something there. But it was extremely close. After Memphis puts his left foot inside the box, and that's not disputable, his left foot was in the box, but the foul had not begun at that point. The foul begins when Memphis actually weaves out of the box, and the entirety of his body is inside the box. So basically, Memphis is leaning on his right foot. His right foot is planted about an inch or two outside the penalty area. So if Michael Oliver is using that for his point of reference, fair enough. He's got it bang on, because that is when the contact was initiated by Drinkwater. Even though 95% of Memphis's body, his entire weight, and was inside the box, and he himself had just been inside the box, technically, if your interpretation of the rule is where his foot is, or what the part of body that's touching the turf, whatever it is, that was outside the box. Memphis obviously does then cut inside and then falls over. I personally, if it had gone against us and they had been given a penalty, I'd be calling it bullshit. I'd be saying, oh, that's bullshit. He's very clearly outside the box. So the fact that it went against us in a way, in the sense that we did get the foul, but at the same time, we didn't get a penalty, which ultimately could have won us the game. And those 2 points at the end of the season could be gold dust. I'm not saying that Rooney would have scored. He probably might have. I mean, there's a penalty. He should, but does that change come the end of the season? Do I look back on that and think, could we have had the penalty? But ultimately, you can't. Ultimately, if we're going to get big picture here, which I guess we are, we're going so far off the beaten path because this is a bit of a weird review. I'm doing it the day after, and we're more talking about Leicester City winning the league in general than the game itself. But if you're going to talk big picture here, and we look back on this season and we don't get fourth, because that's what it's looking like right now. I know that if we win all our games and City drop 2 more points, it's ours, but let's just be realistic. It doesn't look like it's happening. We've left ourselves with too much to do. Am I really going to look back on a game where we drew 1-1 with the champions and didn't get given a penalty, probably justifiably, in the 90th minute as the reason we didn't get fourth? No. Yeah, it's the most recent in mind, but the reason we're not getting fourth this season is the same reason that we're not winning the league like Leicester this season. It's because we're not fucking good enough. We're not one of the best 4 teams in England. Simple. Leicester are better than us by miles. So are Spurs. City and Arsenal have better squads than us, and on their day can rip us to shreds. Arsenal did rip us to shreds on their day back in October, and if Arsenal had played like that all season, they probably would have won the Premier League. I predicted them to win the Premier League pre-season. Shows what I know. I also predicted Leicester to finish bottom. Yeah, anyway, let's not talk about that. United, the reason that we're not making fourth, we're not good enough. We've put in too many performances this season. We've dropped 2 points in so many situations. Home games. I believe we had 5 0-0 draws in 9 games at Old Trafford, something like that. Something ridiculous. And I would rather draw 5-5 than draw 0-0. I absolutely hate 0-0 draws, especially at Old Trafford, because what would happen is teams would come to us, a bit like Leicester did yesterday, and they would see a point for the taking, and they'd take it and we'd give it them. And that's what we have to sort out next season. I'm going to save most of this rant for my season review, which I'll probably do after the cup final, for better or worse. But that in a nutshell, I don't want to get too far off topic, but in a nutshell, that's why we're probably not going to get fourth place, is because we dropped too many points in games where we just didn't play at all. Not because the referee didn't give us a penalty in the 90th minute against Leicester. For all I know, I don't see us winning our last 3 games of the season personally. I think that, it's a lot of people have talked about how all we need to do is win all our games. And they were saying that before Leicester. It's like, oh, all you need to do is win all your games. I'm like, yeah, well, all you need to do to win the Premier League is win all your games. If it was that easy, then like it's a stupid argument to say all you've got to do is win all your games. What the better argument is, you still have a chance if you win all your games, and that is hopefully what's motivating the players right now. They've got a cup final to look forward to, so they've got every reason to continue performing, even if we do end up getting bumped out of the top four race, before the end of the season. We've got 3 games. Let's see how we go. But yeah, to just wrap up the game, I've gone way off topic here, but to wrap up the game, we need to get lucky. I do think top four's gone. I think that we need to get phenomenally lucky. We need City to completely bottle it, and I'm not saying they won't. They've shown that they definitely have the capability to. If we'd won this game against Leicester, we'd already have it in our own hands. That's how close City are to slipping over the edge here. And God, would I love it if we could beat them to 4th place. But my man of the match is Anthony Martial. He scored the goal and he looked threatening throughout the game. He's been my man of the match umpteen times. He's probably one of my players of the season, up there with Chris Smalling and David De Gea. He's been absolutely immense, and he is one of the bright sparks of a really, really dour season for us as United fans. But moving forward, we got 3 games to go. We're away at Norwich, early kickoff this coming Saturday. That game, every game really, from here on out, decides our season, at least for a little bit longer. It's a bit like the situation Spurs would have been in if they could have held on and won at Stamford Bridge. If we can win our game on Saturday, that is the first game of the weekend. We can then kick our feet up and watch the rest of the football unfold and hope that we get a favour done for us by Arsenal on Sunday. Obviously, technically Arsenal are still haven't secured top 4 either, but they play Aston Villa at home on the last day of the season, and I believe they need 2 points from their last 2 games. Arsenal finishing top 4. I'm not thinking about that. City, little bit of a different story. My understanding, I believe City are playing, like I said, they're playing Arsenal, and they're playing... Who are they playing? I don't know. Shows the professionalism that I have. I do not know who City are playing on the last day of the season. I haven't thought that far ahead. But what I do know is that City are playing Real Madrid in the Champions League on Wednesday, which just pisses me off. It just pisses me off that City are in the Champions League semi-finals and we're struggling to even get in the Champions League. But they're playing they're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League, and whether they go through or not, they are still going to have to play Arsenal right off the back of travelling to Madrid and playing a really high-intensity game. And my hope is, if we win against Norwich, like I said, if we don't win our games, it's irrelevant. There's no conversation if we don't win our games. But if we beat Norwich, which is not going to be easy, away from home against a team who is fighting for survival, I'm pretty sure if we beat them and then results go against them, Norwich will be relegated next weekend. So they are not going to roll over for us. But if we beat them, as we can and probably should, as a team in our position versus a team in their position, then then City go into their game with Arsenal, whether they're in the Champions League final or not, knowing that they have to win in order to keep top 4 in their own hands. Now, I believe we'll be 1 point behind, no games in hand, but then once Arsenal and City play, only 3 points will get City out of our touching distance before we play our game in hand. Big if here. We have to also beat West Ham at Upton Park. Let's not mention that it's also the last game at Upton Park ever. Oh, and on top of that, they're also competing for Europe, and they might actually overtake us if they... But yeah, so it's not happening, is what I'm trying to say. This 13.5-minute video, that's what I'm trying to say, is we're not getting top 4. That's what I'm trying to lay out for you. It's possible, yeah, it is, but I'm not buying it. I just don't think we're going to do it. If we were going to get top 4, we would have gotten it already. We're not a team that puts together a run of games. We're just not. That's our biggest problem. We can't sustain good form. We can sustain bad form, but we can't sustain good form. And over the course of the next 10 days, it's gonna be done and dusted. But ultimately, I don't know exactly what I'm cheering for as far as City go, because part of me says go on, let them get to the final, because if they get to the final, then they're all going to completely phone it in. Every single one of their players is going to phone it in for the rest of the season, and they'll give us 4th. They'll lose to Arsenal, they'll lose to whoever they're playing on the last day of the season, and gift wrap it for us. Part of me believes that. But the logic in me also says, don't let City get to the Champions League final, because you never know what could happen. Chelsea, they won the Champions League, finishing 6th in the league, and they bumped Spurs out of a 4th place spot. So 4th is a bit irrelevant if City and Liverpool both win their European Cups. And to be honest, I'd rather finish 9th than have that happen. I'd rather finish 9th in the Premier League, behind Southampton, behind, you know, Bournemouth, whoever. I'd rather finish. I'd rather finish 17th than have us finish 4th and then have Liverpool and City win both European competitions and bump us out of Europe. I might have to go and live on that really weird planet that Luke Skywalker is currently hiding on if that happens. Like, I don't think you'll ever see my face again if that happens. So, I don't know exactly. I'm going to be very conflicted watching this Champions League semi-final. I'm not going to want City to win, but at the same time, if they do go out, as I expect them to, surely they're going to kick on and beat Arsenal at that point, aren't they? Like, I want to keep the faith. I really do. Much like my friend who's a Spurs fan who had his dreams crushed today, I'm still hanging in the balance with that faintest glimmer of hope that we can actually salvage top 4 and an FA Cup win, which if you offered it to me at the start of the season, I'd have enthusiastically taken it. And after this shit show rollercoaster of a season, to finish 4th over Man City and then win the FA Cup, that would be all right, wouldn't it? Like, that wouldn't be too bad. You know, maybe give Louis another year at that point and stop it. No, let's be serious. Let's stop it. But anyway, yeah, I've rambled a lot in this video. Obviously, my mind is still blown from the fact that Leicester have actually gone and fucking done it. They've gone and won the league. Fair play to them. Big ups to Danny Simpson and Danny Drinkwater, our 2 Dannys. We're going to claim them now. We violently, yeah, I wouldn't say violently, but we definitely offloaded them because they weren't good enough to play for Man United, and I'd take both of them now. Oh God, oh shit, I need a drink. This has been a mental season. I'm seriously still expecting someone to pinch me and for me to wake up in August, you know, in a cold sweat the night before we play Spurs in the opening day of the season. I'd be all right with that, honestly. Maybe we'd have a better year. But no, in all seriousness, well done Leicester City. Well done Spurs. They've had a fantastic season. They're going to do English football proud in the Champions League next year. Something which we've not done recently. Something which Arsenal have been making a fool of in the last few years. Fair play to City for actually kicking on and doing well this season. But I'm really excited to see some new English teams in Europe next year, giving Europe something to think about. You know, not having the same old teams playing over again. Whether we're there with you or not, I wish you all the best of luck in that competition. I will be cheering for you all the way, unabashedly. There is no scenario where I would not want to see Leicester or Spurs do very well in the Champions League. They're not rivals of mine in any way, and I respect both of those clubs very deeply. So congratulations, Leicester. Well done, United, on not getting beaten by the Premier League champions. 2-1-1 draws this season. How many people can say that? Not many teams can say they didn't get beat by Leicester. So maybe we're not so bad after all. Anyway, doubt anyone's watching 18 minutes into this ridiculous video that I've just done. It's barely even a review. But thanks for clicking on it, at least if you did. And yeah, see you next week, where our top 4 hopes will probably be well and truly in the ground where they belong.